If you only knew the power of the dark side.
Hey, what's going on there, guys? Welcome to a very special podcast session of Jedi Outpost. On this episode, we are talking post-Star Wars Celebration, Rogue One fan disappointment, the Rebels Season 3 trailer, and so much more. So without further ado, let's start the show off by talking about the juicy tidbits that happened at Celebration this past weekend. So let's start with just the obvious news. One of the things that fans had been expecting from Star Wars Celebration was the inclusion of a Rogue One trailer. Now, let me be very clear about this. At Star Wars Celebration, they actually had a 3.5-minute featurette that featured a lot of behind-the-scenes footage of Rogue One, but then they also debuted the brand new Rogue One trailer, which gave us more story points than that first teaser trailer. And I guess fans were going absolutely crazy when they saw it. The issue was Lucasfilm and the company had led everybody on, so a lot of fans, and they basically were saying that that night at around 8 o'clock they were going to be debuting a special on The Force Awakens, and it was that behind-the-scenes documentary that came out with the Blu-ray, and it was called The Secrets to The Force Awakens. That was going to be playing on ABC Family, and what Lucasfilm originally had said, and also it was in the TV Guide, and a lot of other publications made everyone aware of this, that the Rogue One trailer would drop right after that Star Wars special, and people were waiting around for it. They watched the special. They took time off work. A lot of people, moved their schedules around just to watch this trailer, and the trailer never came. And for me, myself, I was, as a fan, extremely disappointed in this. I was kind of hurt, and I felt led on because of the fact that everyone had been saying, you're getting this trailer tonight, and I was so pumped for it. And, just being a Star Wars fan, when they don't deliver something, that creates huge disappointment. Now, what we know from the Star Wars trailer for sure is that a lot of new footage was shown. You see a lot more of Ben Mendelsohn's character, and he's playing Orson Krennic. He's some sort of Grand Admiral that's working on this, new Death Star. And, we have a lot more of Jyn Erso's main character. We get a lot more of the battle sequences and dynamic between this rogue squadron. And then, of course, the money shot, which everyone has been talking about the last couple days, is that brief little tease of Darth Vader. Apparently, in the trailer, you could see his reflection on the shiny floor somewhere inside on the Death Star, and then you can hear that mechanized breathing that we're all so familiar with. So I think it's really, really cool that they had that. I'm glad the people at Celebration got to see that. Just for me personally, I really wanted to see it myself. I'm sure we're going to see this trailer down the line. It can't be that much longer before they debut it, even either online or, during a preview of, an upcoming Disney movie. We do have a new Disney movie coming out at the beginning of next month, and that's Pete's Dragon. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that Rogue One teaser or that next trailer with Pete's Dragon, but I would assume that within the next couple weeks we are going to get that trailer, because so far, we've only gotten one teaser trailer and for Rogue One, and the movie comes out in less than 6 months. And if you look at the timeline for The Force Awakens, we had at least 2 teasers and a full trailer by the end of that summer, 5 months before the film was released. So, I was just disappointed we didn't get to see it. I think it was wrong that Lucasfilm, allowed even that material to get out there, that people were going to get a trailer because everyone was expecting it and it didn't happen. But that's just, my sheer disappointment as a Star Wars fan. But, I do have complete faith in what Lucasfilm is doing with their Star Wars properties. So there might be a reason why they decided not to put that trailer together. Who knows? Maybe they have an even better trailer lined up for the general audience, within the next few weeks, and they just didn't have time to cut together something a little better. Who really knows at this point? But, I'm not too worried about it because we are going to see it. I think we're going to see it very soon within the next few weeks. So anyway, that was just my thoughts on the Rogue One teaser trailer and just my utter disappointment with how Lucasfilm handled this trailer situation. I do think it's great the people at Comic-Con saw it. They deserve to see it since they paid money to be there. But I think when they promise something to the fans, they better deliver. And right now, they're showing that they have not delivered on this trailer. Anyway, moving on. Let's move on to the next topic. The next thing is Rogue One also delivered a poster. Now, the poster for Rogue One is absolutely fantastic. It's so simplistic, yet it tells a complete story. If you look at the poster, you can see the Rogue Squadron and Rebels. They're on a beach-like planet. They're running through the beach and into a weighty, kind of bluish turquoise water. And on the other side, you see all these stormtroopers firing back at them. So it looks like basically two different armies of people going at it on the battlefield. And it's very colorful. You see some X-Wings flying above head, and the wondrous and lush-looking green palm trees. And then up in the blue sky, you can see what appears to be the Death Star overshadowing, whatever planet this is. I think actually the planet is called Jedi. And there's a lot of history with that planet and how it relates to the Force. So, more on that later. But anyway, so the poster says Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And even though there's not a whole lot going on in this poster, it is gorgeous to look at. And with very little and vague characters, this poster screams story. And it almost looks like this poster could be like a really beautiful looking fan painting, if you will. So anyway, I was a huge fan of this poster. I think it's gorgeous. It's very different from a lot of the other mainstream Hollywood posters that we get, which are just kind of the floating faces on every poster with the title and, the tagline. This to me just shows that this movie is indeed a war film. That's what this poster is conveying, and that it's going to be dark, it's going to be gritty. I love the colors in this, and I think, I don't know, I haven't seen Star Wars Rogue One, but I think this movie is going to be something incredibly special, something that we have never really ever seen before in a Star Wars movie. And I like the fact that they're exploring some things that are familiar, but they're also introducing us to a lot of things that we have never, ever seen in this universe. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the poster. I think it's fantastic. If you have not seen it, definitely check it out. I think it's going to complement the Rogue One trailer when we eventually get it. Okay, moving on. The next thing that came out at a celebration was they had a really cool panel that was dedicated to the character of Ahsoka Tano. And what this panel was, Ashley Eckstein was on there, who plays Ahsoka in the Clone Wars and also more recently in Star Wars Rebels. And she was also on with Dave Filoni. And they really just talked a lot about her character. They talked a lot about that upcoming book that's coming out, which is called Ahsoka's Untold Tales, which are basically unpublished screenplays that take place between the Clone Wars and Rebels. So, like, what was going on with Ahsoka after she left the Jedi Order? Like, what she thought about Order 66 and the extermination of the Jedi. So, I'm really interested to see and read this new young adult book about Ahsoka. And the panel was just really fascinating. Dave Filoni was really just a true joy to hear, and I loved Ashley Eckstein, how she interacted with Dave and then the crowd and with the fans. And, you know, you can tell that Dave and Ashley truly have a passion for the Ahsoka character. You know, I personally think that Ahsoka is going to come back, even for a small part, in Rebels Season 3. And if not, you know, we are going to get that Ahsoka book. And I think that the Ahsoka character, even though her journey in Rebels Season 2 is over, her journey in the Star Wars universe is not over. I think we have not seen the last of her. They've been hinting that maybe she could get her own film, or that she might, you know, become a live action character. There's all these really interesting things that can happen with this character. And, you know, there's nothing really new about the Ahsoka panel, that they gave a lot of answers into her character, but it was just kind of cool to hear the creator and the voice of Ahsoka talk about that character, and to see their passion for that character live on in the Star Wars universe with all the different fans. So if you want to, I would check out that Star Wars Ahsoka panel. It was actually really interesting. It wasn't, you know, mind-blowing or anything, but it was very enjoyable, and you got more insight into Ahsoka as a character. And again, the Ahsoka book, Ahsoka's Untold Tales, that comes out this fall. I believe it's a young adult book. I am absolutely excited for this. I cannot wait to read it. You know, I'm a huge Ahsoka fan. She's one of my all-time favorite characters in the Star Wars universe. So, you know, we'll just have to wait and see what the book delivers, and wait and see if she shows up in Season 3 of Rebels or somewhere else down the line. So speaking of Star Wars Rebels, one of the things that really stood out at Star Wars Celebration was, of course, the Star Wars Rebels panel. And what they did is Dave Filoni came out and he started talking about the show and a lot about Season 2, what had happened. And they really got into what was going to take place with Season 3. And what really dropped the ball was they released the Star Wars Rebels Season 3 trailer, which is roughly 3.5 minutes long. And boy, was that absolutely fantastic. From what I heard from a lot of people around the web, it really stole the entire show during Star Wars Celebration. I actually saw the trailer. It was absolutely fantastic. And one of the things that really made the trailer great was we saw, you know, where Ezra and Kanan are in their journey after that amazing finale of The Twilight of the Apprentice. You know, Kanan is blind and he's dealing with those effects, and Ezra, you know, with that holocron, he's slowly and assuredly turning to the dark side. We also see a lot of Sabine. That's one of the things Dave Filoni told everybody, was Sabine was going to have a major storyline in this season, which I think is great because she's always been a character that's really cool. They just haven't given her enough to do, and not a lot of backstory with her, but this season I think is going to be her season to shine. We didn't really get any Vader. We didn't get any Ahsoka. I think that might be coming down the line. But we did see Darth Maul. And, of course, the thing that everybody's talking about, we finally saw the introduction of the character Grand Admiral Thrawn, which people have been waiting years and years and years for this character to finally make it in the canon of this new Star Wars. Now, I've never actually read any of the Thrawn books. I heard they're fantastic. So all I really know about the character is that he is very dark, he's very twisted, he's very maniacal and very calculating, and he, when he plans on defeating his enemies, he likes to study them. He likes to learn about the artwork and their religion and their mythology and beliefs. And to me, that just sounds like a completely dynamic villain and character. I cannot wait to see him in this season. I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic, and I know a lot of fans of Thrawn are just going absolutely crazy over this news in his inclusion in Star Wars Rebels. I think it's come at the perfect time to introduce him into the show and into Star Wars. And going into that, also, the guy that actually wrote the Thrawn books was a guy named Timothy Zahn. And they had a really cool video of Timothy Zahn thanking the fans for being so supportive of his character of Thrawn. But the even bigger announcement, besides including Thrawn in the Star Wars Rebels show, is the fact that he is completing a new Thrawn book that is going to be a part of the official Star Wars canon. And I think it's set to be released early next year. I can't remember the date on that, but I think they said April, but I could be wrong. I'll have to get back to you on the date. But it is coming within this next year, the new Thrawn book. And I guess fans of Thrawn and the Thrawn book series are just beyond stunned. From what I've heard, Timothy Zahn is one of the greatest Star Wars authors, next to probably James Luceno. But anyway, so the Thrawn book is something to keep your eye open for. For me, I had never read anything with Thrawn, and I don't know a whole lot about him other than the basics. So for me, it's going to be a really great introduction to the character. I'm really excited to read the book, and I think that the hardcore fans of Thrawn are really going to be happy of his inclusion in this new timeline. And I just could not be more thrilled for the hardcore fans, and I'm thrilled myself because, having good villains in really anything is a key to having a really great movie with good heroes. And Thrawn, to me, sounds like one of the most perfect villains that you could put on screen, whether it's, in a book or in a TV show or a movie. So anyway, I'm really excited about this Thrawn announcement. If you're a huge Thrawn fan, this is your time to really be excited and be a Star Wars fan. So, keep your eye open for Rebels Season 2. And apparently they screened 2 of the episodes of Rebels, and from what I heard, it's fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to Star Wars Rebels Season 3. I'm beyond excited. I loved Season 1 and 2, and I just could not be more excited for Star Wars Rebels. Okay, moving on to the next bit of information here. On the last day of Star Wars Celebration, they had the Future Filmmakers panel in which they were talking about, Episode 8, and they were talking about the new Han Solo film and possibly some future spin-off movies that we can expect from Lucasfilm. And I gotta say, a lot of people were really excited about this panel because there was so much potential. And this essentially was probably, besides Rogue One, this is one of the biggest letdowns of Star Wars Celebration. I think a lot of people were expecting something out of the Future Filmmakers panel. I know a lot of friends of mine and a lot of people I know and people I've talked to were hoping that they would at least have gotten the Episode 8 movie title, and we didn't get that. And that was really, really disappointing because, the movie is coming out in about a year and 4 months. So there's not that much time that we have to wait for Episode 8. And, everyone was pretty much guaranteed they were going to at least give us the title. But no, we didn't even get that. And, to be fair to Lucasfilm, I think it was smart that they didn't give a lot of information about Episode 8 just because they're trying to, promote Rogue One as much as possible, and they don't want, Episode 8 to overshadow Rogue One. So I get that they didn't really release a whole lot of information other than, just some minor tidbits on, how Rian Johnson was inspired by certain films, on how the tone is going to feel on Episode 8. So that was a little intriguing, but other than that, it was very vague on Episode 8, and I know they're trying to keep it, tight-lipped, and, they don't want a lot of people, knowing a whole lot about the movie, because, it's almost a year and a half away, which I get, and I know they want to really promote the hell out of Rogue One, but that's where I have the issue with Star Wars Celebration this year. It's like they're trying to promote Rogue One heavily, and they don't want anything overshadowing it, but then they don't give the fans, a really good trailer, or they don't give, the rest of the world something to look at, and we're only like 4.5-5 months away from Rogue One. So, it's kind of a love-hate thing with me for Celebration this year. So no Episode 8 title, which very disappointing. I wasn't surprised. They didn't reveal a whole lot for Episode 8 regards to characters or story. I guess the cool thing was they finally announced, who this new Han Solo is. It's going to be Alden Ehrenreich, and he was just in the film Hail Caesar, and I guess I haven't seen that movie, but I heard that he is just fantastic in that movie, and I think he's going to be a good choice to play Han Solo, so it'll be really interesting to see, how this second spin-off movie plays. I am looking forward to it, and they had Phil Lord and Chris Miller there who are directing it, and they gave a little bit of insight into the movie, which is cool, but that's really all they gave us regarding the Han Solo movie. They didn't give us any other casting news, which I think a lot of people were expecting, so that was a bit of a letdown. But I think the biggest letdown for me, besides not showing the Rogue One trailer, was the fact that I think a lot of people, including myself, were hoping that they were going to announce a new spin-off movie, and, the talk for a long time has been they want to do an Obi-Wan Kenobi spin-off series, and I think that's what a lot of people, hardcore fans, including myself, were hoping that we were going to get that announcement of a Obi-Wan spin-off series, and they didn't announce that. In fact, they didn't even announce any other future spin-off movies. So that was a really big letdown. I know a lot of people were expecting at least something, and they did not deliver really anything at all, and so it was a major upset for sure. And then, of course, after the future filmmaker panel, they basically ended Star Wars Celebration with a closing ceremony, and that basically was it for this weekend at Star Wars Celebration in Europe. So my overall thoughts on Celebration this year, I thought they did some cool things. I really loved the Star Wars Rebels panel. I think that was the biggest takeaway from Star Wars Celebration. But I gotta say, as a fan, I am just absolutely disappointed in the film side of Star Wars. They delivered a whole lot of great stuff with the TV show and the video games and the books, but when it came to the films, we basically got nothing, besides that featurette, and besides, seeing the new Han Solo. That's all we really got, and, just as a fan, who wants to have as much Star Wars news as possible, it was just very disappointing. So, I'm sure I might have felt differently if I was there, because when you're there and you're experiencing things, it's a little bit different. But I gotta say, if I was paying money to go to a big convention like that, and Star Wars is primarily known and concerned with its films, their shows are great and their books are great and all that stuff, but most of the people who are big Star Wars fans go to see the movies first. And I gotta say, if I was a fan going to a convention and I paid a ton of money to go, and they don't give you really a whole lot of stuff to, enjoy and a whole lot of things to marvel at in regards to, the big trailers, the big news, then, you feel like that money has been wasted. And, I wasn't there. I just watched a lot of the panels, but even sitting and watching the panels, I felt like there was a lot of missed opportunities at this Star Wars Celebration. I actually did not feel that way last year when they did a celebration in Anaheim with The Force Awakens. I actually thought that was a phenomenal celebration. So yeah, so my thoughts basically, just they had some cool stuff, but it was nothing, mind-blowing, nothing, people are going to be raving about in months to come. I think if they would have dropped some of those trailers and given us more teases of, Episode 8's title and, maybe some future spin-off films, I think Celebration could have ended on a much stronger note, and it didn't. It fell flat to me. So, and it hurts me because I'm a big Star Wars fan, and when Lucasfilm gets it wrong, it's deeply sad. So, anyway, those are my thoughts on Star Wars Celebration of 2016. So yeah, fingers crossed that we get more Star Wars news in the coming months. Hopefully we will get that Rogue One trailer as soon as possible because I am dying to see it. Anyway, that'll do it for this very special episode of Star Wars Jedi Outpost on our post-Star Wars Celebration recap. And we will see you guys next time. May the Force be with you.